Let's go racing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome live to Daytona International Speedway. I'm Mean Gene Money, and I am blessed to have two fellas here in the booth with me today. I've got Buddy Sully, the champion of Season 3 Cup Series, and I've got Joe Volpus in here, multiple-time champion as well, Pit Road Joe. So all-star booth right now, about to watch race number 2 in the round of 8. It is the Thursday Thriller Truck Series here with the Moonlight Racing League. I can't wait to see what happens after last week's fireworks. Hey, buddy, you got your suspenders on? Because I think we're going to need to be pulling up our pants more than once tonight.
Yeah, I think so, too. After it's been a couple weeks of fireworks in this Thursday night league, it'll be interesting to see how Daytona goes, considering how you kind of got to be aggressive at Daytona if you want to make anything happen. You got to take a lot of risk, and sometimes people like to point fingers when stuff goes wrong.
Hey, remember, when you point one finger at somebody, there's 3 fingers pointing right back at you on that same hand. Joe Volpus, hey, buddy, you ready to make this work for us tonight?
I'm always ready here to see what's going to happen tonight. Daytona is such a wild track. It's going to be a wild card here. See if maybe we have a surprise winner win their way into the championship 4 here tonight.
That's right. Speaking of the championship, that is what we're headed to. Auto Club last week, and we saw some interesting turn of events. The points swapped. We had, of course, David Owens up on top. But after Auto Club, Owens finished 9th, and that allowed Zach Panzarella to take over your points lead at 2082. Dalton Geyer, his DDI teammate, 2nd. Owens stays in 3rd, and Joe Volpus stays up on that top. But I'll tell you what, buddy, take a look there. This is all about getting into the top 4. Look at Novella and Quesabir creep up a little bit closer to Joe Volpus right there. Those guys are fast, and they're especially fast on a super speedway, yeah?
Yeah, they're definitely good on super speedways. The points right there at that cutoff is really, really tight. I don't know what the field size is today, but being a track like Daytona, if the wrong thing happens to the wrong person, it can flip the point standings really quick.
Or if the wrong thing happens to the right person. Or if the right thing happens to the wrong person. There's so many algorithms that we could run here. Big story last week, though. Last lap, Zach Panzarella leads at Auto Club. David Owens behind him. Zach lets off the throttle. Owens doesn't. Goes right into the back of him. Both drivers end up losing control. Eric Thornton wins. Thornton not a playoff driver, so there's no guaranteed win. Panzarella finishes 4th. Owens in 9th. That was still enough for Zach to go ahead and take that points lead. There's still 2 golden tickets as there's 2 more races here in this round of 8, and we'll see if somebody can claim that tonight. But really, I want to keep an eye on what happens with the progression of Novella, and especially Quesabir and Lynott. AJ Benesh, again, going to miss out on today's race. He has started, but not finished because of some technical difficulties and travel issues. AJ will be back next week in a must-win situation. But all those guys outside, 5, 6, and 7, Novella, Quesabir, Lynott, them are some fast boys. Joe, would you put it above any of the 3 of those to take a W here today?
Jonathan Quesabir, he won at Talladega last season during the playoff run, actually. He wasn't in the playoffs last year at that time, but he was able to get a win at a super speedway last year. I know you're always touting his super speedway prowess, so we can see if he can get it done here today. Novella's pretty much good just about everywhere we go. Kyle definitely runs up front at all these super speedways as well. So any one of those 3, I feel like, has a decent chance. It just matters on, working with the right people, being in the right place at the right time, and staying out of the big one.
Staying out of the big one, that is always an issue here on these super speedways, and that's not going to be any different here at Daytona International. Now we're looking at some of these numbers that these boys are putting up coming out of practice. Again, these aren't always reflective because running in the draft, not running in the draft. But somebody that had a great time in there was Matt Novella, as he was the second fastest guy in practice. Yeah, you can see right there. Ooh, Joe, you're on the money tonight. Look at that. So you can see just how quick some of these guys are running. A couple other names I like seeing up there. Tommy Fox, always a fan favorite. Tommy, a clean driver who is just always on the edge looking for that dub here in the Premier Series. Bobby Dodson, eighth fastest in practice. Bobby's so fast. And remember, he almost won at Talladega just a little bit while ago, but some DQ points popped him out of it. How about Jared Kelly making an appearance over here, too? A lot of big names here. 24 drivers going to race tonight, buddy. That is an exciting field.
Yeah, that's a pretty big field. It sets up a situation for these playoff drivers where anything can happen to anyone at a track like this. A lot of people call these wild card races random, but there's some skill to super speedway races because you always see the same guys up front all the time. Every time any of these leagues or races go to these tracks, it seems like it's always the same few that always find themselves in the front.
And I don't think tonight is going to be any different. But the thing is, with this many guys, all of these fellas have led races. I mean, look down at the bottom of the practice times. Eric Thornton, Joe Volpus, those guys are winners. So This thing would be really interesting to see track position, and also I think some sneaky pit strategy might come up.
Yeah, pit strategy can play a role in it, especially as long as you time it with the right group and untimely caution doesn't come out. That can it can work in your favor, or it can also hurt you depending on which end of that you're on.
Well, that's why you got to have the right teammate. You know, you get 3 championship drivers, and then you get that one meat missile down there that can make that caution happen because he ain't worried about his he's not worried about his championship chances. He's just there to make things happen at the right time. So again, you can see we're out there qualifying right now.
Just send it. And Kelly right now sitting on the pole. And those times for those top 3 times are really tight at tracks like this.
Yeah, it's really funny how you can cut the apron at just the right time. You would never do that in a real race. Also, just how fast that you can get out of the pits sometimes comes into effect. Of course, they're running 2 laps here for qualifying today, so you will have plenty of time to get up to speed, and then just a matter of how tight you can hold it. And look at Kelly. He's already sneaking down in the pits. Such close times here. Thornton and Kelly, basically identical times. Look at Hillman and Volpus, 4 100s, 5 100s off of that pace. And, oh, my, Steve Lewis, he's got to be sad. He's tied, but behind Dodson.
Yeah, right there with him. Same exact times. It can be rough at tracks like this trying to get a good starting position. So whenever you run tracks like this, Mean Gene, are you a qualify up front? If you don't get the pole, drop to the back, or do you like to stay up front for the race and kind of try to control it?
I'm that aforementioned send it meat missile of which we described. My job is to get out in front, try to lead a lap, and push my teammates to the front. Really don't have as much experience on the super speedways as some of these other guys. My progression has gone forward though, buddy. I've run some 3 wides in the middle, leading laps on the outside. So we're slowly getting up there on that super speedway. But for me, it's basically white knuckle and pray nothing goes bad.
Yeah. There's definitely some strategy to that. I know guys that'll qualify just to try to get the pole for those bonus points or whatever. And whether they start on the front row or not, a lot of people don't like starting in the middle of the pack. So you might see some people kind of pull off after the start down the backstretch to try to drop to the back.
And some guys don't even bother qualifying. Even they don't mind losing out on that. We've seen the Monday night series. They run cups, of course, on the MRL Broadcasting Network, and Top Runners, Team Mopower, basically doesn't even try. Colin Bollinger, Andrew Bolander, those fellas, Daniel Plant Smith, they just wait. They're down there smoking a bowl, getting ready in their own special fashion. And they don't care. Here's Dave Kirkpatrick now. He looks like he's got some good momentum out there. There's David Owens as well. Remember, Owens involved in that incident last week, so all eyes will be on him and Zach Panzarella to see if we're going to get a repeat of last week's shenanigans. Can I say shenanigans?
I think you can say shenanigans. I'm pretty sure that those guys the last few weeks have been kind of magnets to each other, so it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't find each other on the track today.
Ooh, I had a girlfriend that was a magnet one time, but it was for other things. We had to split up. So, yeah, look at that. Kirkpatrick right there, 0.0, tied with Lewis and Dodson, but finds himself just behind. He's got one more lap that he gets to put in. So far, 14 trucks out there have tried to put down qualifying laps. And qualifying 10 minutes. So there could be people waiting on the time to pass before they go out there. What do you think? Miller Genuine Draft, that an old Rusty Wallace throwback there?
I think it is. It kind of fits the feel for it. I know every time that I've seen this truck or that truck on the track, it always reminds me of the old Rusty Wallace car.
Mm-hmm. There's Napa. I always think when I see that Sunoco, that blue color, I think of Mike Skinner. Remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Old Skinner.
Good old trucks guy. I wonder whatever happened to him.
Right. I'm sure he runs his garage somewhere. So, again, remember, folks, we're having a good time, but this is the Thursday Thriller Truck Series, Thursday Night Thriller, and we are getting ready to race here at Daytona International. This is the second race in the round of 8. Insanity last week at Auto Club, coming back to see what's going to happen. And, buddy, I just see, in addition to the fireworks between the two drivers, between Owens and Panzarella, I also see teams starting to draw lines in the sand as well. There is a point championship for the teams, and that DDI team coming out of nowhere, basically unheard of last year. Now they have 2 4-man teams. I mean, sometimes that's a third of the field. Like tonight, that would be a third of the field. So I have seen the T-shirt down there. I saw the flag, DDI versus the world. I wonder if that will start to affect the other teams as well. Most of the other Gulf Coast teammates of David Owens really don't care. They're not involved in this situation. But, I mean, if you're looking at team points, at some point you have to identify who the biggest threat is, right? I mean, you can't ignore the pink elephant in the middle of the room. And the way that Dalton Geyer and Zach Panzarella have been running this year, sure, Joe Volpus helps out David Owens with those points, but especially on a super speedway, this could be rough finding a teammate if you're not one of that big 8, right?
Oh, yeah, and it can kind of lopside you a little bit, too. Whenever it comes to this pack race and stuff, typically there's 2 sides to the coin. You want to kind of have as many people on your side as you can get, but at the same time, the more people you have this trying to work together, the harder it is to keep everything organized.
Especially
so
going into the pits. Especially going in the pits, right?
Oh, yeah, trying to keep everyone together. The more trucks or the more cars and more people that you try to pack into that and make sure everyone's on the same page, the easier it is for it not to quite work out the way it's a lot easier to control 4 trucks than it is to try to have 8 trucks on the same page.
Oh,
and stand together.
Let's all pit together. Why did you wreck me? All right, so here we go. Qualifying results are in, and oh my word, look how close this is. A 2/1000th of a second separating Bobby Dodson and Dave Kirkpatrick. Congratulations to Dave. The number 27 Miller Lite truck driver is going to get a pole. Following up him is going to be Bobby Dodson. Dodson will be on that front row with him. Second row going to be the 88 of Steve Lewis, Captain Crunch, out there trying to get a big finish, starting in third. Going to be the great place to start. Outside of row 2 Eric Thornton, last week's winner at Auto Club. Eric looking to follow up last week's big performance with another great run. David Owens, he's going to start in 5th place inside row. Next to him is going to be the 08 of Alex Hillman, DDI teammate, probably under strict caution not to be a meat missile. Steve Fugay going to be starting in 7th. Jared Kelly outside of him. 5th row, Joe Volpus on the inside. Jonathan Quesabir outside of him. And that is your top 5 rows.
Starting in row 6, you got David Brenner in the 22 on the inside. Next to him is Kyle Lynott in the 988. Row 7, Joseph Amato in the 19. Starting on the outside, Steve Bryan in the 16. Starting in 15th, you got Scotty Estep in the 48. Dalton Geyer in the 36 on his outside. Starting in 17th, Matthew Fritz in the 95, Zach Panzarella in the 12, and it looks like from Dalton Geyer back chose not to qualify for this. In row 10, we got AJ Benish on the inside, outside Matt Novella in the 56. Rounding out the field is Graham McGivern in the 33, Richard Swingle in the 97, and Tommy Fox in the 67.
Guess those boys had no time for practice and no time for qualifying. They were part of that big circle with that smoke cloud coming out of the infield. This ain't Talladega 1987, boys. You got to play it close to the vest. So here we're getting ready. It is going to be 77 laps of excitement as the pace car is going to lead them down pit road, and we are getting ready to do battle here live at Daytona International. Dave Kirkpatrick going to be your pole setter. He's going to be in that black number 27. Remember, we're going to start on the flagman's wave, so that will give the 32 of Bobby Dodson a great opportunity. Now, I got to ask you, though, it seems like, especially when you're trying to match the speed of that inside car, the inside lane is a shorter distance. So maintaining speed with it, you have a little bit longer of a jump before you actually get going. Don't you think that gives that inside lane an initial advantage, especially on the first start when you're looking at the flagman?
One of the things I worry about whenever I start on the outside is in most tracks, and this track's no different, in order to stay side by side with that inside truck, you usually have to be going a little bit faster if you're on the outside. And I'm always paranoid about getting black flagged for speeding or jumping the start or something like that.
Yeah,
paranoid
that's
me
what
every time, no matter how often I'm out there. I'm always paranoid over the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a few weeks ago on Monday, we saw that incident where the outside lane was just getting destroyed on restarts. Again, I think that's something that we should look at here. Of course, you're going to make it up by the back by the time you're on that back stretch. You know, momentum and the draft will come into play.
Right.
But that really gives those guys on that inside lane an opportunity to dive up and down, blocking lanes, and give them the opportunity more so than that outside lane to find position or even improve just one spot. You know, spots so important here, especially depending on who you're around. Here we go. Pace car is off, and we are waiting for Chad the Flag to start waving at these boys. And away we go. We are green, and we are live here at Daytona International. Dave Kirkpatrick off to an early start. He's on that inside. He's got Steve Lewis pushing him. David Owens right behind them. Bobby Dodson with a great start side by side with Kirkpatrick on the outside, waiting for that outside row to start to catch up. Finally see the 6 and the 08 of Hillman all side by side racing. It's 12 deep as they're going down that backstretch.
Yeah, they're coming. They're just nice and calm right now. They're trying to get up to speed, I think, and trying to figure out where they want to run, how hard they want to push. I mean, we're only on lap 1, so I think everyone's trying to fill everyone out still and just be comfortable with where they're trying to run. As you see the inside lane get a little bit of a run on the outside lane.
Yep, finally starting to get that momentum. Look at Steve Lewis, Captain Crunch on the outside lane. He's going to take the lead going into the Geico restart zone, and it looks like it's going to be Captain Crunch leading the first lap. Steve Lewis going to get those points. Steve is the highest point driver not in the playoffs, so not a surprise to Steve Lewis leading early. Behind him, Bobby Dodson giving him a hard push. Eric Thornton, third truck in line on the outside. Inside lane, you're going to see the 27 of Kirkpatrick. David Owens, Steve Fugay behind him, and it is side by side, 8 deep, 16 cars, trucks all within milliseconds of each other. Outside lane moving. Let's see what the momentum does here as they're bringing it into 3.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's a little bit closer to each other on that top side, so I'd expect that top line to have a little bit more momentum coming through the straight here. The tighter you can keep these lines and the tighter you can keep the trucks in line with each other, the less drag it imposes on that line. So the way the 32 there kind of bounced up isn't helping that outside any. So this inside lane's probably going to have a run going down this back stretch unless they get everything back organized on the outside.
You know, I'm also wondering about Bobby Dodson. He's part of that MC Motorsport Case of Beer team. I wonder if he's poking outside to let Lewis know, don't side draft here, damn it. There's no need for side drafting in this situation. Get away from them, get away from the wall, and just let that momentum push you. Once you get into the side draft situation, you're slowing down yourself. You can see the 27, he's all the way down on that apron. So why Lewis, see how Lewis comes down right there? He's giving himself side drafts, slowing himself down. So I would not be surprised if Bobby Dodson, the super speedway veteran, is actually going high to tell Lewis, let's stay up a little bit more. You don't want to side draft if you've got momentum, and you sure don't want to get too close to the wall. The wall side draft will slow you down too, right?
Oh, yeah. If you get too close to the wall, it'll kind of act like it'll create a bubble there and kind of suck your momentum away from you. The one thing that Steve Lewis is doing up there is he's kind of playing a dangerous game of leaving that outside open. I think if we were later in the race, I don't think Bobby would be hanging behind Lewis and just stick him in the middle and let him drop to the back.
No, I agree. I think Lewis has really got to focus a little bit more on not getting close to that inside lane, because watch, when he stays outside and away from them, look at how the outside lane will progress. Gone past David Brenner, going past Steve Fugay. Now look at him. He's side by side with Owens. He's still away. No side drafting. This is working out great, even though Thornton is far behind with that 6. And then all of a sudden, look, Lewis dips down just a little bit. Side draft comes into the picture. Outside lane loses all right there. Look how close he is. And you can see them start to lose that momentum. I think he's really got to start thinking about how high can he go, not mess with the wall. That black mark is a really good spot, wouldn't you say? If you could put the middle of the grill right there on that mark.
Yeah, one technique that I like using at tracks like this is I would run a little bit higher than what Steve is right now. In the corner, I would run with the middle of the truck kind of on that black line. Right. I guess it's kind of a tar strip, kind of like he's doing now, just a little bit higher. And whenever I come to this tri-oval, that's whenever I'm going to suck down to the truck on the inside and try to pull them backwards and then shoot back outside, so that if you stay side by side with it, once you start pulling the inside line back, they're going to be doing the same thing to you unless you get away from their side draft.
Yep, absolutely. And there you can see again, look at the 6 as well. Eric Thornton trying to encourage them to go high as well. Ooh, little bit of movement back here in that human centipede, but still forward momentum succeeding here. 16 trucks all buried together.
Yeah, they're just staying 2 by 2 by 2, I think. Really clean racing right now. I think it's still pretty early in the race, so you got some. I don't think there's going to be too much chance taken right now. I don't think anyone wants to wipe themselves out this early in a race.
All right, so it looks like we said we had 24 starting, but AJ Benish, he's already out. Remember, he just logged in so that he could get credit for the start. And Richard Swingle, I think he is race control today. Joe, are you there, bud? Can you give me a little more insight on the...
So down on the track, some interesting stuff to note here. Richard Swingle is race control, so that's why he's not out there. AJ Benish, of course, he is away from home right now. He needed to get a start in before Dover next week in order to be eligible to have a chance at the winning in next week at Dover. So he did the classic, let me start on the keyboard and try and run a lap and then bring it on down pit road in order to get some points tonight. And then with the racing on the track, I know you guys have been noticing the 32 and the 88 really haven't been hooking up very well. They've been a little all over the place. The track wind right now, the wind going across the track is about 15 miles an hour, and it's really making the life difficult for that outside lane to really get through that crosswind, especially for the second truck, the pusher, on the outside through the tri-oval most particularly.
Ooh, a little bit of technical insight from our local meteorologist, Joe Volpus. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, that is some interesting information. It's also interesting, too, on how much the wind sometimes can affect some of these tracks and the way the cars handle, or trucks handle in this case.
Oh, yeah, wind always a determining factor as far as what's going to happen. But really, like Joe pointed out for us, that is just really having an effect on that outside lane. Inside lane is a little bit deeper. So 21 trucks actually part of this adventure right now. And if you go all the way back, that 21st truck, Tommy Fox, he is doing his best to hold on to that lead line. So that is the 57 right there in the Miller High Life truck, a little Bobby Allison call out. It's still in the draft, but Tommy biding his time. I would imagine he is expecting the big one, just does not want to be a part of it. You might be wondering where some of the playoff drivers are. Zach Panzarella leads in points, currently finds himself in 19th place. So he is well right there in that BRN number 12. Taking his time back there, not wanting to get caught up. His buddy, Dalton Geyer, who's also up there, second in points, he is well hanging out here in the back. Not wanting to be part of this, but it's not too insane up there. Got to imagine they're going to take a move at some point. Kyle Lynott, he's in 14th at the moment. Kyle running in the 988 Ford. He is well getting closer. Look at that outside lane, 5 trucks, and then it backs off. Kyle Lynott is that 6th truck on that outside lane. I imagine he's going to close it up tight. So not too much activity yet. These boys are being very patient. What do you think? After the come to Jesus from league admins, you think everybody might be watching their P's and Q's early on here?
I think that could be some of it. Another thing that I'm thinking here is I'm curious about how much fuel these guys in the back of the pack are actually saving during this run. The draft is super, super heavy in this truck. And whenever you're at a super speedway, usually the further back that you can hang to the pack, it's a little bit more forgiving. So you don't really have to worry about losing the draft as easily in this as some of the other cars on iRacing. So they might just be cruising around here half throttle, just saving fuel, where Steve Lewis and the 27 there, they're trying to push this pack through, so they're full throttle, just burning all the fuel that they can to try to keep all this going.
That is an interesting thing. I can't wait to see once that fuel comes into effect, especially considering we're finishing up lap 13 here and nobody has had a caution as of yet. Bravo, not trying to do the broadcaster curse, but boy, I am so surprised and happy it's going green.
There's a move to
three wide. Oh, what's going on? It works every time.
I think that was, who was that? Hillman and Case of Beer?
Oh, they're turning each other, guys.
And there it is. The 27 is involved. Look at this. Not good. Kirkpatrick, he was your leader. And now finds himself at the bottom. The 48 as well. That's Scotty Estep. Scotty with a history of fast starts and top runnings down there in the mess as well. Oh, quite unfortunate. Now, we do have a fast repair available, but golly gee, you don't want to use it this early in the race. Bobby Dodson part of that mess, and also looks like Thornton as well. Golly gee.
Yeah, that was let's see if I can rewind this a little bit and see if I can see what happened.
What happened? See what happened?
What had happened was they just ran out of room. Hillman and Casabir was trying to go up through the middle. A hole got open and left open, and they tried to make something happen, and it looks like the Bobby Dotson. Oh, let's see here. It looks like they just kind of came together in the middle, and that just everyone fighting for the same spot on the track.
Well, guess what spot they don't have? And that is the lead, now occupied by Steve Lewis. Captain Crunch continuing to be a driving force in this race. He started early. He was 6/1,000th of a second off of the pole. Quickly made himself up into the front row, and now he is the leader. Behind him, David Owens, the captain, going to bring him down onto pit road. This is the race within the race. Wouldn't you agree, buddy? Trying to figure out when I'm going to pit, when I'm going to take fuel, and how many tires. What do you think? There is 16 laps. Are you even thinking tires?
No, not right now. I'm not thinking tires. What will be interesting here is if anyone's able to beat Lewis off with the fuel that they were able to save through that run. If they were saving fuel, they should be able, like Kyle Lynott did just there. He jumped the field a lot, it looked like.
Yeah, he did. I thought Owens was going to get Lewis there because he came and he hit that pit mark way sooner, but that advantageous position on pit road, Lewis with the number 3 stall came off first. But Lynott, you're right. Look at him bump up those spots.
And it looked like everyone just took fuel only, so he had to have been. I mean, he was that truck that was running on the outside back there on that outside line. Definitely, I want to assume that he was able to save fuel, and anytime you got to put less fuel in whenever everyone's doing fuel only, you're gonna make up spots whenever you have to put less in than everyone else.
That is an advantage I've always had over the other drivers, buddy, at a super speedway, is whenever there's a caution, I'm usually running in the back of the field anyway, so why not come down and get some more fuel? So That's just an advantage. And also with my slower lap times, I also save more fuel and tires than the other guys as well. So I do have that going for me.
Yeah, that's whenever we were talking earlier about people choosing not to qualify and stuff, that could be a benefit in ways because you're not trying to keep up with the pace of the leaders and just kind of running your own pace. So in a way, you're kind of saving tires and fuel by not burning your stuff off because you're not trying to keep up with all those guys at the front.
Yeah, and here, just getting pulled around, I would imagine somebody like Tommy Fox, remember, he was 24th before all of that. Now he finds himself in 12th, 13th position. That definitely, I would imagine, a good pit stop combined with needing to take less fuel is going to help that guy move up. So we do see a little bit of shuffling in addition to the fellas involved in the wreck. Some of those guys in the back that were able to use less fuel, quicker pit stop. Specifically, we're looking at Tommy Fox bumping up to 12th from 24th, and then Kyle Lynott, he bumps up from 12th all the way up to 3rd or 4th. He's in that second row now.
Looking at the looking at the timings on some of the pit times on that, there's a 2-second difference between a lot of these guys. Some people had a 6.5 second stop, it looks like. Other people had close to 9 seconds. I'd assume that's just the different fuel amounts that people had to take.
That's pretty significant. How about Zach Panzarella also making a good jump? Suddenly our points leader finds himself up in 10th as well, so able to move up, leaving behind his DDI teammate and fellow championship driver Dalton Geyer. Dalton back in 15th, but now's not a time where you're worried about it. Green flag pit stops, really where it's going to hurt you, and you need those friends to stick together. 6 or 7 cars, I imagine, is the best number to have because you can all pit easily, but then hit that top speed again coming out. The lights are off of the pace car as Steve Lewis is going to bring them around through 3 and 4, getting ready for that pace car to get out of the way so we can see some more live action here at Daytona International. Cannot wait to see exactly how it's going to go now, because after that first caution, now everyone feels comfortable, right? Now the monkey's off the back. You didn't cause the first wreck. Now's the time to take chances. The car is off. Let's keep an eye on Lewis. Lewis is the control truck as he's going to bring it into the Geico restart zone. And away we go. Lewis with a slow start. Owens manages to stay right next to him. Outside lane, you can see the push that Volpus is putting on Owens. Meanwhile, down below, look at Lynott in the 8 of Quesabir. Outside lane needs some help, but Steve Fugay way off the pace. Inside lane with Lewis at the lead. Clear advantage. 3 trucks versus 2 trucks. Then a lot of spacing. What a horrible start for the middle of that pack there, buddy.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what happened that checked that middle of the field up so much. I don't know if it was people trying to team up or get in line with teammates or whatever, but something happened to the middle of the field. It looks like they're getting a little bit organized here. Luckily, like I was talking about earlier, luckily the truck isn't as drastic whenever it comes to losing the draft. Usually pretty easy to maintain the draft whenever you're a second and a half or so back, where some of the other cars that would be the end of it until you had a caution or something, because it's just super easy to lose the draft in other cars.
Oh, yeah, that next gen especially, just dangerous. Meanwhile, how about how aggressive that 11 is going right now? He is trying to push a hole straight through him, and that outside lane, Joe Volpus just continuing to whackety whack and get that momentum. Steve Fugay on the outside with them as well. Inside lane, though, looks like Lynott is having a whole lot more success on that push. And how about Lewis? He is able now to hold his line on that apron. Outside lane, dealing with that wind. Inside lane, smooth sailing. I know the captain has to be happy. Meanwhile, middle of the pack also swinging around, taking it up way high as we see side-by-side drafting here. Lap number 20, Daytona International. We are in the second round. The round of 8, and this is the second race on the schedule here for our boys racing in the Thursday Night Thriller League on MRL Broadcasting. Little wiggle by Lynott on the inside. Steve Fugay experienced that same wiggle, and there's Joe Amato. He's blinking like a drunk Marine at a bar looking at a girl across the room.
That's never fun in a track like this either. Anytime you get around someone blinking like that, not only do you not know where they're at, sometimes it can completely destroy the momentum of the line that they're in, just because it creates that gap where that truck was.
Oh, look at this inside lane from the 5th truck back, and tell me if you see a theme. I see DDI, DDI. Panzarella, he went backwards on purpose from that restart position, and then all of a sudden, there it is. You can see Novella, McGivern, Galton, and Dalton Geyer and Zach Panzarella. So those boys already linking up, expecting some green flag racing. Right now up front, though, where the business is serious, that is still Steve Lewis getting pushed by Kyle Lynott. Outside of them, David Owens and Joe Volpus also making way. So you've got 3 playoff drivers up front looking to hold it down. Also of note, I believe those are 3 Gulf Coast Racing drivers. So one team leading up front, the other team is hooked up but find themselves just a few rows back. So if we go green long enough, I would imagine we're going to see that activity, that formation start to come into effect. Oh, look at that good driving right there. Amato off the pace a little bit. Tommy Fox decides not to take it 3 wide. Instead, he burps the throttle a little bit, leaving the gap for Joe Amato to come back in. And there's Amato. He looks like Rudolph leading Santa's sleigh as he's blinking right through that fog.
Yeah, even right there beside Amato as he's blinking in and out, you got Brenner on the inside. So I think that's two GCR trucks that's also right there side by side. And then I think you got Novella behind him in the 56. So there might be some team strategy at play here to kind of cut people off too.
Yeah, the league officials will keep an eye on that especially. But so far, no shenanigans. Second time I've used that word. Don't pistol whip me, Farva. don't. I'm not Farva. Don't hold that one against me. So far, clean racing right now. Only the one little incident as we saw Casabir and Hillman have their little tete-a-tete. But it has been fixed, and we've got wide open racing right now here at Daytona International. Lap number 24, as we are scheduled to take this thing 75 laps. Steve Lewis still looking good up front. We've seen some great runs from Steve during the year, yet to find himself in victory lane. But this might be the day for the captain if he can continue to pit the way he did. That pit he did was exceptional. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, came in, hit the mark, held the lap speed, in and out of the pit clean, and right back up front. And with that great pit stall position, Lewis, this could be his race at this point.
Yeah, there's a benefit to having that first pit stall here, because whenever you get done with your pit stop or whatever, I think you can almost full throttle it straight to the line without having to worry about getting a speeding off the pit road exit. Pretty sure it's this track. It might be Talladega. It's one of the tracks that you can kind of full throttle it on the exit without having to worry about speeding necessarily. The other thing to note is I'm curious on how well that plays out under a green flag stop.
Yes.
It's a little bit nerve-wracking whenever it's coming to, like, you're coming down on speed really, really fast off of 4, and usually you're packed together because no one wants to pit together, or no one wants to pit separately. You have to take that chance. You have to have a decent-sized group with you whenever you pit under green, and sometimes to steal your words, it ends up being shenanigans in itself. Now we have, it looks like a lap truck coming up here that's going to make it interesting for these guys. It looks like they're going to catch him not in a very good spot in a corner.
Oh, never good. Looks like Kirkpatrick. Remember, he got the pole up front, and now here we go. Going to be 3 wide. Lewis rides it up high, right up into the front of Owens. Comes back down. Look at the accordion effect. Oh, and the 22 of Brenner loose takes up Tommy Fox. Oh, all kinds of bad stuff. Bobby Dodson down into the apron to avoid it. Panzarella.
I don't know what happened at the back of the field.
Jared Kelly, the 95 of Eric Thornton, drives it in the pits to avoid it. Looks like 1975 Winston Cup zipping through there at 200 miles an hour.
Oh, I see what happened.
What happened?
So Amato was blinking. There's 2 incidents at the same time that happened. There was the lap truck that Amato was blinking and came back alive right at the beginning of that lap truck incident that took out Dalton, and Panzarella almost caught some of it. It almost took out all of DDI in the back. And then the lap truck kind of caused some people to get pinched right there. And a whole cluster happened after that.
Not what you wanted to see, especially this close to the middle of the race. Let's go to Joe, the producer. Joe, can we get a little bit of clarification on what is going to happen here with this being so close to the stage?
So we will be going back racing. So the stage break is at the end of lap 32. So what you're seeing right now is some guys are going to come pit here and top off on fuel and not pit at the stage break, I would imagine, because pretty much what you can do here is you can go about 25 laps on a tank of fuel. So if you come pit here, you can make it on one more stop after that with that stage break caution upcoming. So some guys are going to try and flip the race here. Some guys are going to stay out and try and get some stage points, as you can see. The guys up front stayed out. The guys in the back that also got involved in the wreck are going to come get some fix some damage and get some fuel and maybe some tires as well.
Oh, there it is. Good clarification there by Joe. Thank you, Joe. And looks like this is a team decision as well. Look up front. You can see Owens, Volpus, and Lanat deciding to stay out. That's Gulf Coast Racing. Whereas the DDI guys, whether it be through hook or crook, accident or strategy, they find themselves in the pit taking fuel, getting repair. So those guys are going to try to flip it after the stage, whereas the Gulf Coast guys want the points right now. What's that old saying, buddy? A bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. Is that how that goes?
I think so. Something like that. The
stage points now are better than no possible stage points later.
Absolutely. Whenever you're in the position of Owens and kind of the whole GCR team right now, take what you can get now at a track like this with how random it is and how random sometimes stuff happens. You never know whenever you want to get collected in something. Take it now, risk it for later. You've already ran up front for most of the race, so you know you can get back up there. If you really want to, if you run into something or something don't go your way, you can fight your way back up there.
Agree. I agree, especially with these trucks, not quite as temperamental as the next gen cars will be. So you would have that opportunity. Meanwhile, there's Tommy Fox. He's bringing it down again, wondering if he is trying to repair that thing the old-fashioned way and save his fast repair for later on in the race. That's the number 57. Or maybe he was just giving it a little splash there. What do you think of that, buddy? Little gaming it? He's gaming it, isn't he?
I think it was a little bit of a splash. It was only a 5.5 second stop, so
yeah. I mean, that makes him a little quicker on a green flag pit stop if everybody takes fuel, right?
Bobby Dotson also had a 5.39 second stop. Everyone else was in the 8s and 9s.
Trickery. Lots of gamesmanship going on as these fellas are trying to find every advantage they can right now. Field tightening back up. Lights are off of the pace car. David Owens now being shown as your leader, but the captain, Steve Lewis, also on that front row. Second row, Gulf Coast teammates Joe Volpus and Kyle Lanat. Third row, Jonathan Quesabir, Alex Hillman, first DDI driver on the grid right now. He is being shown in 6 on the outside of row number 3. Bobby Dotson 7, Graham McGivern in 8, Scott Bryan and Scotty Estep. Good to see the 48 of Scotty back up into the top 10 after that rough start that he had, getting caught up in that incident. No fault of his own, but as you know, Daytona does not play any favorites. Once the crashing starts, it becomes a magnet, and you could be drawn in quickly. David Owens up front. Oh,
I was just going to say, yep, everything comes up really, really fast here.
Yes, it does. Nothing like a T-bone steak in the middle. Here we go, Guy Kart restart zone. Owens is going to start late. Look how late Owens started. Talking about gamesmanship. You got to wonder, though, did he count it off for his team? Meanwhile, Lewis on the outside stays relatively close. Joe Volpus, second truck on the inside, pushing David Owens. Outside lane gaining momentum as the 988 of Lynott. Second truck in line, pushing the 88 of Lewis on the outside. Hillman on the outside, third truck. Graham McGivern, third truck on the inside. As we're side by side, look at those front 8 trucks going down the backstretch. Outside lane now gaining momentum. Lewis staying loyal to the outside lane. Stays with Lynott pushing hard. But now here comes David Owens on the inside with Joe Volpus. There's only 3 on the inside. Look at that outside lane momentum. But Owens starts to battle back as he's going to bring him across the restart zone. Lewis in the outside lane take the lap. And lap number 30 belongs to Steve Lewis.
Yeah, he has a really, really good pusher with him on the outside in Lynott. I raced with Lynott quite a bit. He's excellent at pushing in these super speedways. Kind of like Case of Beer on the inside, helping Owens and Volpus there. Case of Beer is another one of those super speedway guys that you definitely are smiling a little bit whenever you have Case of Beer behind you, because you know he can do these super speedways.
Yeah, he's got speed to push. He's got speed to lead. The question always is, though, how hard are they going to push? You know, we coined the term smash draft. You know, we've heard bump draft, we've heard that, but the smash draft, where these guys literally will come into your tail 3 to 5 miles an hour faster. But as long as they hit in the center, you're usually okay. But you're right. Those fellas, high speed, high risk, high reward. Meanwhile, everybody has drawn up. Look how tight this field is all the way back to Tommy Fox. And then you can see Joe Amato has now faded away from the rest of the group. Joe having a little bit of a tough time with it at this point. Dave Kirkpatrick a lap down, but he is still with the boys.
I think this right here might be the stage. I think that's why they were pushing so hard.
Looking for insanity. And congratulations, David Owens. He is going to be the winner of that stage. Can't tell. They're not under caution. They're just going for it, huh?
Yeah. I don't know. It looks like they might be slowing up here. They're kind of spread out a whole lot, but Steve Lewis picks up second in that stage. I think Joe Volpus got third. Kyle not fourth, and Case of Beer rounded out the top 5.
So exciting racing there at the end as those boys trying to fight for position. Now, I believe, Joe, they do give out points down to 10th for the stage here. Is that correct?
So since more than 20 showed up, that is correct. So there was the top 10 scored points, and I'll give you a quick rundown on that from the results that we got. So David Owens did end up winning the stage by 1/100th of a second over Steve Lewis. Joe Volpus third, Kyle Lynott fourth, Jonathan Casebeer fifth, Hillman gets sixth, Graham McGivern seventh, Stephen Bryan in eighth, Bryson Dodson will get ninth, Bobby Dodson, and Zach Panzarella rounds out the top 10.
So Zach Panzarella, the points leader right now, gets that ever important point for finishing in 10th. And also, I want to give a little shout out to Stephen Bryan right there. You know, Stephen has struggled in the past, but he's also had some great runs here in MRL. And so really nice to see that number 16 Chevrolet pulling in 8th place and picking up him some stage points. Also, Graham McGivern as well. He's one of the developmental drivers with DDI, up 15 positions in that number 33 DDI Chevrolet to take 7th at the end of that stage. So really seeing a lot of fellas showing some patience and choosing when to make their moves and taking advantage of those opportunities, scoring them points here. Now, it might not help them in the long run as they're not playoff drivers, but every race where you progress, that just pushes you to be better the next year.
Absolutely. Anytime, I think Panzarella stayed out right there.
He's being tricky.
Yeah.
Tricky.
Oh, goodness. But like you were saying, even whenever new guys come into a league, sometimes sometimes you can, like, I was a new guy on Monday nights last season, and you I didn't want to press any issues or anything, but at the same time, you want to get a feel for how those guys run. So these new guys to the leagues or whatever that's afraid to run with people or run up front because they don't want to make a mistake or whatever, throw that out the window and just run it like you normally run. That allows all these drivers that's raced around each other to get used to you as a new person coming into the league as well.
And I'm going to hold you to that next year on Sunday mornings.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a blast next Sunday morning.
Yeah. I'm going to hold you, and I don't need to worry about Duval. I think that fella's going to be Florida man all up and down the tracks all season long. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're referring to is our sister league. This is the Moonlight Racing League, our sister league, Bonfire Race League. Also, they have a Sunday morning Premier Cup, the Next Gen Cup League, and Buddy Sully will be running full-time next year, part-time next year on a team, and he will have Jax Duval, Jose Medina, and myself will be running on that team. So we're expecting to rattle some cages, to say the least. But meanwhile, back to the action here. Absolutely. Look at the gamesmanship of Panzo. He is getting it done now, taking advantage of the stage break. He took fuel, foregoes the stage win, still got 10th though, buddy. And now Panzo finds himself up in the front on this restart, and that's exactly where that DDI driver wants to be.
Yeah, it's safest up here at the front usually.
But he's 7 laps fuel difference here?
Yeah, there's about let's see here. Yeah, about 7 laps difference on fuel. That can be a good thing and a bad thing. There's a 7 lap difference and you're leading a line. I wouldn't be shocked if I seen Panzarella try to drop behind Case of Beer here, just to be able to save a little bit more fuel instead of trying to lead a line.
Well, he's not just
especially with the lap difference and him having 7 laps less of fuel of everyone else. Because you don't want to set up a situation where it makes you have to come pit alone.
Well, remember though, he's not just a member; he's also the president of DDI. So perhaps he could encourage some of his boys to come down with him if he is forced to pit early. We'll just have to see how it revolves, or if there's any cautions. Again, we've only had a couple of cautions here today, so a lot of exciting but clean, fast racing here on the mean streets of Daytona International. Right now, Zach Panzarella, he's choosing that inside lane, so if he did need to bail out, he would have a quick parachute just to dip below that apron temporarily. I'm sure one of his teammates would pick him back up and let him in. Kyle Lynott being shown as the second truck on that front row. David Brenner, Jonathan Casabir, second row. Bobby Dotson, Eric Thornton. Here we go. Pace car is off. We're watching the number 12 VRN truck of Panzarella. And away he goes at the midpoint. Great start. Pulls away from Lynott. He's so fast, he pulls the number 8 of Casabir with him, who goes past Lynott as well. And then Thornton on the inside as well. 3 trucks on the inside battling with 2 on the outside. You can see Lynott now trying to get his truck up to speed. He's got the 22 of David Brenner pushing him inside lane, though. Has 3 trucks. Look how quick Lynott is. Getting the push from his teammate Brenner. Owens on the outside now with Bobby Dotson closing the gap. Joe Volpe is behind them. Outside lane, 5 trucks now making great progress. Inside lane, 3 trucks. Right now, Panzarella trying to hold off the charge of Lynott as he brings it into 3 and 4. Inside lane, making progress now. 4 trucks versus 5. More trucks now closing up into the gap as the draft takes effect. Inside lane, Panzarella, he looks like he might take the lead. It's Lynott at the line, taking lap number 37.
Yeah, the one thing I like seeing right there was the way that Lynott was kind of, as Lynott moves to the bottom, and now GCR is going to control the 2 front rows.
That was the most aggressive move I've seen this race.
And it was clean too, even though it was aggressive. He definitely knew he was clear. What I was saying though is the way the Lynott was side drafting Panzarella was kind of textbook. You come down, you suck the truck back a little bit, and then you dip back out of it. All you're looking to do is kill that momentum of the inside, and once you've done that job, you get out of it, or else it's going to kill yours.
Yeah, great move there by Lynott to make that pass, especially considering that crosswind that we mentioned earlier affecting outside lane. Right now, though, Lynott not shy to dip down and put a hold on that entire inside lane. Outside lane, you would have thought they'd have been a little bit quicker, but they still slowly getting up front to be there. So it is Lynott on the inside, David Brenner leading that outside group, being pushed by Owens, Bobby Dodson, Joe Volpis, and now Steve Lewis, 5th truck on the outside lane. So here's the chance. What do you think? Are these guys going to try to draft some fuel? Or do you think, hey, Panzarella is 7 laps down on fuel for us. Let's just go wide open with this thing. And if you're Panzarella, this is perfect, right? You got a guy pulling you, but yet you're still in that front group.
Yeah, it's a coin flip here. Panzarella has to be happy because he's able to follow someone that has more fuel than him, so he can kind of save and lay back a little bit and not be super aggressive to kind of minimize the damage of not pitting at the stage. I don't even remember where I was going with that.
Now, how about the teammate situation though for Panzo? He's by himself. I mean, he's basically surrounded. He's got MC Motorsports directly behind him. He's got Gulf Coast Racing in front of him. And you got to look all the way down to 12th place before you find Graham McGivern back there as one of his teammates. So he's kind of trailblazing for his whole team right now. We're going to be counting the laps. I believe Joe said, 22 laps of green flag racing for fuel?
Yeah, I think that's what he was saying. 22, 23 laps, somewhere in there.
So Panzo's going to have to make a decision.
So I don't think Panzarella is necessarily by himself, because I think MC Motorsports is kind of part of that DDI network a little bit. So I think he has some people that's willing to work with him right there with him. So it might not be the end of the day where Panzarella's kind of left out to his own there at the front.
Well, I'm your buddy and I'll push you and stuff, but if we come down to a green flag situation, I've got 7 more laps of fuel running with the main pack, and you're like, hey, I got to go in early. You want to come with me? I don't know how. I think Joe calls that team adjacent. Team adjacent. You're not part of the team, but you're team adjacent. Speaking of, hey, Joe, you're hearing any radio chatter about who's willing to work with Panzarella up front or their gas situation? Anything coming on the radio? Any insight you could give us as far as this green flag run?
So with the way the teams are set up in here, it's a little bit different than in the other series that I know you broadcast like on Mondays. So Jonathan Casavir is actually a part of the DDI team on Thursday nights. So he does have direct help behind him right now. But you were right then. The next trucks behind him then to help him would be Novella, McGivern, Hillman, and Geyer, and they're all in the back of this group. So he's just got Casabir up there with him. But pretty much everybody else is either an independent or is working with Gulf Coast Racing.
What about Bobby Dodson? I know Dodson's part of that MC Motorsport on a Monday. I imagine maybe he wouldn't go with Panzarella, but I bet he would be willing to push Jonathan Casabir, maybe even make a Panzarella sandwich and kind of keep him in that momentum. Good insight there, Joe. Thank you. Meanwhile, the wiggling up front continues. It has been a pretty consistent, steady race. Fast laps being put down on these guys. The last lap, 48.3, Best laps are around 47.7. So we are seeing some fast racing here. Lap 44 about to come to completion. David Brenner now has taken over the lead from Kyle Lynott. Brenner being shown as the lead truck. So inside lane, Brenner, Lynott pushes Panzarella back to the third row, and behind him, the number 8 of Quesabir. Outside lane, David Owens, he's getting a push from Bobby Dodson, and then you see Joe Volpus and Steve Lewis. So a lot of calm right now in the eye of the storm as these fellas are just barely a third of the way through this second stage. We're going to lap 75. So as you can imagine, nobody wants to make a big move at the moment. Everybody pitted on 34, add up 20 laps of fuel. That's about 54, lap 55. So I think we got about, 11 more laps of safety here?
Yeah, I think it's easy, or it's good to assume the 55 lap mark, maybe 54 laps. I think people might still be in conservation mode because the less fuel you have to take on pit road to get to the end, we've seen how that leapfrogs stuff. So if you get kind of the same group of people that's on the same page of that strategy, and you can come down together and all have equally fast pit stops and clean pit stops under green, you can really leapfrog some people whenever it goes through the green flag cycle.
Yeah, I imagine the chaos also of getting into the pits is going to cause a lot of interest for us and the viewers at home. A little bit of housekeeping here. Matthew Fritz, the driver of the number 95 Chevrolet, has parked it, as we are going to lose Matthew for the remainder of the race. The remaining drivers all on the lead lap. The 20 are on the lead lap, but Joe Amato fell off the pace, and you can see they are gaining on him quickly. This ought to be interesting. Amato staying low. Oh, and he goes below the apron to avoid the insanity. Good awareness there by the 19.
Oh yeah, whenever you have nothing in it for this, and Amato's position he was in, the class act right there to kind of take the apron and not jack the field up or anything.
Oh, we've seen that.
Daytona's a little bit tighter of a track than something like Talladega, so these corners, whenever you're 3 or 4 wide and get everything checked up and shuffled up, can definitely be a little bit more rough here.
And then people making that decision on purpose. We saw Ross Chastain just last week at Talladega take it up in front of the charging pack of Toyotas to slow their progress. So Amato definitely could have made a wild move to try to stay on the lead lap. Instead, though, takes the high road, or in this case, the below the apron road, and will fall to the back.
So I wonder if the tables would have been turned if it wouldn't have been GCR leading both lines.
I'm curious because as we look, Amato immediately, he's just off pace. He is really off pace right here. There's something wrong with his truck. He's barely going 165 miles an hour. So Amato is definitely limping around with a broken truck, just putting in laps.
I think I don't think it was, maybe it was the last caution that we had, whenever he blinked and got up into DDI a little bit. I don't know what happened to him because he wasn't there, and then he was there sideways across the track whenever he got into Dalton. So I think that might have broke his truck, and maybe he was involved in the incident before where he had already used his fast repair. So he might be in a situation where whatever he has left in his truck, his bed's kind of made for this race.
Yep, quite unfortunate for the number 19 Chevrolet driver. Meanwhile, 19 trucks on the lead lap. Tommy Fox pulling up the rear once again, and this has got to be a strategy decision for Fox because I keep seeing him pull up, go into the pack, but if he gets too far up, he just will fade back, trying to avoid the madness. Meanwhile, DDI drivers Dalton Geyer, Alex Hillman, and Graham McGivern as well, content to just kind of ride around in the pack. So I think we're seeing a lot of what you were talking about earlier buddy, was these guys just not wanting to be in the middle. The middle seems to be where bad things happen. So drivers in the middle, Eric Thornton, Jonathan Casabir, Steve Lewis, Stephen Bryan. So those boys got their big boy brown pants on, not concerned with the dangers of running in the middle of the pack. Meanwhile, happiest and happy as a lamb, David Owens, who just took the lead from David Brenner. Front row, David's, Owens and Brenner. Second row, Kyle Lynott, Bobby Dodson. Third row, Joe Volpus and Zach Panzarella. So not too much movement now as we continue to see Gulf Coast Racing content to lead these boys around. But lap times are not off, buddy. They're not coasting. They're dropping this thing.
Yeah, the one thing that it looks like there's some trucks moving to the inside.
Look at that
maybe.
move. Yeah, Owens and Dodson.
Green flag stops coming up.
Owens and Dodson definitely came down in front of Brenner. There's Joe Volpus now. Let's see if Lynott lets off enough to let Volpus down. But look at the number 6 of Thornton. He's like, no way, Joe. You ain't letting nothing off. Thornton continuing to push on Volpus. I think that's going to make Volpus have to go all the way to the front. He's going to have to send a text message to Owens and say, I can't get down. Meanwhile, Lynott back there has left a gap about as big as the offensive line of the Cowboys trying to protect their quarterback for Joe to come down into. But Thornton, look at Thornton. He is not letting it happen.
No, I think so.
He would wreck Joe right now.
Right. I don't know if Thornton runs in a team in this league or not. So with all these plans to pit, this is a telltale sign of everyone trying to get to the inside to plan for green flag stops. So I'd expect within the next 2 or 3 laps we would see that starting to take place.
There's the gap. There it is. Yeah. There it is. Brenner finally let him in. Good job there, Gulf Coast Racing. Good communication. They now have 4 of their guys all on the inside. 5 if you count Lynott being the 5th truck in that inside lane. And look at that gap they got from that move right there. Really interesting move. I think Lynott and Thornton might have gotten into each other just a little bit. Nobody taking damage, but definitely affecting the momentum of that outside lane, especially once they lost Joe Volpus as the driving force, the lead truck out there. Meanwhile, up front, if you're Gulf Coast Racing, you have got to be happy where you are. You've got your 5 guys all lined up, either Gulf Coast or Gulf Coast adjacent, and then Bobby Dodson mixed into the, just to sprinkle a little bit of pepper on the salt.
I think we're under caution.
Oh no, Jared Kelly involved. Look, Tommy Fox involved.
Now that was, let's see, who was that?
I'd look at Jared Kelly. He seems to be the one talking the most on the radio. I believe in hockey they call that chipping. I think he's. So we're under caution, and that is about time for a pit stop. The pits were scheduled for these drivers, so I definitely saw Tommy Fox in the grass as well.
It looks like the start of that was Eric Thornton started to come down, wasn't all the way clear, and clipped the right rear of Matt Novella and sent him nose first into the wall. I think that's what it looks like happened to me, at least.
Meanwhile, Tommy Fox is going to bring it into the pits. That is on a closed pit. He will receive the EOL penalty, but when your truck is wrecked and you're not making progress, you're just happy to go down. I just saw that right front wheel adjust, so I imagine he had a fast repair at his disposal. Joe, what's the news from down in the pits? Any chatter on the radio of note?
Yeah, definitely a fast repair there from the 57 to get his truck up and going again. Right now, everybody's going to come down pit road. We might see some guys take some tires, but everybody can take enough fuel here to make it to the end of the race. So expect a few more strategy twists and turns here with just about 20 laps to go.
20 to go, under caution. What do you think, buddy? You taking tires here just to be able to zip and zap a little better than the others, or track? Oh wow, a lot of chaos coming out of there. Kirkpatrick coming in like the meat missile. Luckily, everybody was still in their stall, so nobody got spun like a Josh Berry situation.
So, my strategy for this situation is not take tires, take fuel, jump the field, hope for the best. Tires isn't necessarily super important here. It's been a long time since I ran the truck, so there might be a little bit of a difference in the filling in the tires without new tires. I'd have to spend more time in the vehicle to know that for sure. But I know if I was in the next gen, it would be no tires, fill only, no tear off.
Well, top 4 guys agreed with you there. David Owens, Joe Volpus, Jared Kelly, Steve Fugay. 8 seconds or less pit stops means fuel only. Behind them, looks like David Brenner, 12.6 second pit stop. He's in 5th. I'm thinking he was the first guy to start grabbing at some tires. Dalton Geyer came out in 10th, an 8-second pit stop. I'm wondering as well if he's just going for tires to improve his position. So other storylines we're looking at, early leader Steve Lewis is back to 14th now. Playoff driver Matt Novella, who needs to move up, chasing Joe Volpus for that number 4 last spot, is finding himself back in 15th place. Other playoff drivers of note would be Dalton Geyer back in 10th, Lynott in 8th, Brenner 7th, 6th, Panzarella 5th, Volpus and Owens 1 and 2. So it looks like the points aren't going to spread out. You're not going to gain on those fellas through points. So you're back into that must-win situation. Going to be interesting to see with just 20 to go who is going to take that big chance. I can smell a caution in the wind. What do you think, buddy? I can.
Oh yeah, I don't
love the smell of caution in the morning.
I definitely think we still got. I think there's still. Eventually, the gloves are going to come off with these guys, and that's going to. We haven't seen a whole lot of chance taking this race. Once that chance taking takes place, I think we're really going to see the gloves come off, and I definitely expect at least one more caution through this race.
Yeah, everybody's been pulling from the community chest card pile. It's time to pull from the orange deck. Let's see those chance cards come out. And with such great communication between the drivers, it was to be expected to see that pit strategy come into effect. But now it's done. No more pitting is scheduled. Everyone has enough fuel, as Joe mentioned. So this thing now is let's race for the win. Again, top 4 guys did not take tires, and that put them up into that place. David Brenner, Zach Panzarella in row 3. Those are the fellas that are the first on the track with tires, and we'll just see how much of an issue tires are going to be. Wouldn't expect it to be too much here on the Super Speedway. Pace car is off. We are looking at Owens. He is your leader in the 11 on the outside, and away he goes. Great run versus Volpus. No countdown for the teammate there. Volpus does have the help of Jared Kelly on the inside. Owens is going to drop down in front of Volpus. Maybe that was planned. Who knows? Volpus now going to pull up behind his teammate, the 11. Jared Kelly behind them. 94 of Steve Fugay. David Brenner, Zach Panzarella. That's your 5 cars. 6 trucks on the inside row. Meanwhile, Kyle Lynotte's going to take it around the outside by himself. Zach Panzarella goes high to go with him. Can't get in the draft. Falls back, loses position. Steve Bryan now threatening to take over that number 7 spot from Panzarella. Meanwhile, up front, Owens continues to lead. And now Lynotte going to get some help from Steve Fugay on the outside. Inside row, though. Gulf Coast teammates Owens and Volpus leading it through 3 and 4. Jared Kelly now making his noise heard as he's rattling his Sabre back in 4th place. Coming across the start-finish line, David Owens, he is going to lead lap number 58 as we are almost creeping down to those final laps.
Yeah, one of the things Lynotte did there, I don't know if you noticed it or not or picked up on what he did, but he was the only truck on the outside. And the way that we were talking about side draft earlier, how you don't want to stay down there, in Lynotte's situation that he was in, that's a moment that you do want to stay down there because it's going to keep you with that inside lane, especially if you don't have help or you're by yourself on the outside. The closer you can stay tucked to that inside lane, the more they're going to kind of pull you along as a single truck on the out. And
it's in Volpus and Lynotte. Volpus and Lynotte. It looked like a little bit too hard of a push on that outside lane.
That looked like a push gone wrong. Kind of like sometimes how side drafts can go wrong.
Oh, no. You saw it developing. And Lynotte, the same way Lynotte lost control and the Sunday Bonfire Race League taking out the front of the field, we see it again as he loses it and takes out the front of the field again. At least I wasn't part of it this time, buddy. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. I was in 6th. I'm not bitter.
It looked like some trucks got some airtime on that too.
Holy smoke. Wow. Leaders. Yeah, I think you're right. It was a draft gone wrong. Boys are just trying to be boys. And suddenly we just see the insanity.
Yeah, this is part of the, you're coming to the end of the race, gloves are off. You've had enough time during this race to get used to how your truck feels. We were talking about the wind earlier and how the tri-oval can kind of be weird and it's rough on the outside or whatever. We're in the closing laps of this thing, and guys have had plenty of time to get used to how that truck feels in that situation. So I would expect a whole lot more chance taken to take place here on out.
Ooh, look at the pits are active. Owens and Kelly stay out. Panzarella, Fugay coming down. Case of beer, Dalton Geyer. What is this pit about? Is this a little bit of damage repair, splash of fuel? What are we doing?
I think it might be damage repair.
Let's go to, hey, Joe, you got the radio on? What's happening?
Yeah, most of these guys are just coming down for some damage repair, maybe take some tires, get a little extra fuel in there. Might as well, just play some strategy here towards the end of this race. See if they can do something a little different and maybe make it work for them. See some of those trucks with a lot of damage still on pit road.
Oh, yeah. If you're not first, you're last. Why not come down and hammer it out? Did you get to see the replay of that, buddy? Did you watch it?
Let me go back and see here.
I'm just curious. I know Lynotte was part of that. There's Tommy Fox coming down again. Previous incidents. Lincoln Fox. Oh, and look, we got tires down there on pit road too. Interesting. So Joe Volpus with an extended pit stop after being caught up in that foolishness. Definitely one of the fellas running up front all day long and now finding himself dealing with the activities of other people.
All right. The best that I can tell what happened.
What happened?
Is a push from the 94 to Lynotte. The push looked like it was off center and pushed Lynotte down the track a little bit. That clipped the right rear of Volpus and sent him nose first into the wall and almost over top. And that collected a whole lot of people, including Lynott, the 32, the 22, what was that other one? It looks like Dalton Geyer barely escaped it on the outside. It was just one of those pushes that might have not have been off centered. It looked like the 94 got into the back of Lynott on the right rear instead of dead center on the truck, and that might have shifted Lynott's truck a little bit to the left that caught Volpus's right rear. That triggered all of that.
Well, that's what happens at the high stakes of Daytona International. Meanwhile, let's look back up to the front. And we are watching now as David Owens is going to be the leader. Jared Kelly up there with him. It's just Kelly's third start here in the Truck Series. But Kelly, with speed, we've seen him win in our sister league on Sundays. And we've also seen him win twice in the Monday night MRL Mayhem Series, where he won at Atlanta, too. So no stranger to Super Speedway and Draft Pack Racing. Jared Kelly is the inside truck on the front row. But outside row is the control truck, and that is David Owens. Behind them, you got Stephen Bryan and Eric Thornton, Bobby Dodson, Dave Kirkpatrick, third row, Joe Amato and Steve Lewis on the fourth row, and Panzarella and DDI teammate Graham McGivern, they're going to be in the fifth row. We are closing down on the finish here. Nobody needs any more gas. All the tires that you need are on the trucks. Lap 62 about to come to completion. We were at late racing to lap 77 here. Second round of the playoffs. This is the second of three races in the round of 8 as the boys are trying to figure out who's going to go to the next round. Zach Panzarella, Dalton Geyer, David Owens, Joe Volpus, top 4 drivers. But right behind them, you've got drivers trying to close the gap. Matt Novella, one of those fellas that would love to get a win. But right now, Novella finding himself back in 16th place. David Owens, controlled truck. Pace car's out of the way. Waits till the end again. Look at that. Owens off like a rocket. He's got Thornton right behind him. Jared Kelly with a terrible restart. And look at that, the 27 of Dave Kirkpatrick. He went from death's door, one lap down, now finds himself the lead truck on the outside lane back into the top 5. Inside lane, though, has all the trucks. Look at that jump right there, aggressive move by the number 16 of Stephen Bryan to take over the lead of the outside lane. Inside lane in control, Owens, Thornton, Kelly, Dodson. Now Steve Lewis, 5th truck on that inside row. Outside row drafting, trying to hold tight with the side drafting. That is Stephen Bryan with David Kirkpatrick behind him. Joe Amato back up into the front of the pack, but it looks like Owens. Here comes that outside lane coming like a rocket ship. David Owens. He is going to lead lap number 63 here at Daytona.
Yeah, I think if they can get stuff organized on the outside and get some momentum going, and Kirkpatrick gets a little bit aggressive on the pushes, I think that outside line could be. It looks like they're kind of falling apart here now, going down the backstretch, but it looks like they're trying to start a third line on the outside going into 3. Might be too early to try 3 wide still. Only got 14 to go. Still plenty of time in this race to make moves, and I think everyone's still trying to be kind of patient, but patience will end up running out sooner or later.
Look, the two-way lane is fine. The two-way lane racing is fine, but it's never too early for a 3-way. If you have the opportunity, you got to jump on it immediately. You can write that one down in ink, my friends. Meanwhile, David Owens leading on the inside with Eric Thornton. Outside lane has got to figure it out. There go 3 wide. Joe Amato left out to dry. And now look at Steve Fugay taking it outside with Kyle Lynott as well. That's the inside of Brenner. Oh, my word. Look at that block put on by Bryan. And now that gives Kirkpatrick the opportunity to make it 3 wide. This thing is spicy as a tamale at a taco stand. Steve Lewis now finds himself with Bobby Dodson on that inside lane. Lots of wiggling going on there. It looks like a Saturday morning cartoon. They continue up front. Owens, now here we go. There's some stability. Bobby Dodson, Steve Lewis, Dave Kirkpatrick, and look at that jump by Bobby Dodson. Owens gets way ahead. This thing went crazy, and look how spread out they got. They're going to bring it back in tight, but that was a wild one.
Yeah, it looked like, let's see what happened here. I know we're under caution, and the trial will struck something. caused everyone to come together in a way that no one wants to come together in these races.
Let's see David Brenner. If I'm you, I'd go take a peek at Brenner after that, because he's the one off pace.
Let's see here. Let's see what happened to Brenner in that one.
Meanwhile, up front, David Owens is still being shown as your leader. Eric Thornton and behind him. Some trucks pretending they're going to pit, staying out. Dalton Geyer, that was a slick move. Looks like Joe Amato as well, thinking about the pits.
So it looks like Brenner, oh, goodness. Let's see here. I think Brenner clipped the apron.
Uh-oh.
And then he did it doesn't look like there was any contact or anything. It just clipped the apron. He clipped Amato and then did a pretty fancy lip slide across the wall through the start-finish line. Maybe it was some of that wind in the tri-oval causing some issues with some handling, and then you got dirty air from the trucks and everything. I didn't see any contact that led to that, though, other than Brenner clipping the apron.
And Brenner must not be hurt too badly, because he chose not to go into the pits that time. He's keeping it out there. He is being shown in 19th place, even though he is behind a couple of lapped trucks. Tommy Fox now being shown a lap down. Tommy in 20th place. Pits are open. Here we go. Looks like Scotty Estep, Joe Volpus, Joseph Amato, all going to take this advantage. David Brenner as well. So we'll have to keep an eye and see how much damage is on those trucks. Hey, Joe, what do you got down there? Are these boys all damaged? What about Volpus's truck, and how's Brenner look?
Yeah, so Brenner, Amato, and Scotty, they were all involved in this wreck. Last caution, though, remember, Volpus, when he got turned, he had a bunch of damage from that he's taking the opportunity to fix here again as well. So he's still fixing damage from the last caution. He wasn't involved in this one. So he's just looking to get as much of it fixed as he can. He should be able to get it fixed under this caution. Brenner and Amato hopefully in the same situation. They get what they got under this caution fixed as well.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it looks like Tommy Fox is the lucky dog, bringing it around. I think he's still going to be a lap down, even though that lucky dog is going to bring him back around and allow him to get one lap back. Up front, though, it is still the David Owens show. We're about to complete lap 68 here. Going to be 9 laps here after 10 laps remaining after they cross here. So we're still going to get a good 8 laps of racing, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it'd be about 7 or 8. And the closer that we get to the end, the faster the patients are going to run out on these guys. Whenever you're running side by side like this, you feel like you're in a traffic jam whenever you're in the middle of that, right? So I think,
and you know you're faster, and you know you're faster than the guy in front of you, right? You know it.
You're just it's frustrating because you feel like you're stuck, and can't go anywhere. And so do you have the patience to finish where you're at, or do you take the risk and hope that someone goes with you? Because if you get caught in the middle here, or even caught on the outside by yourself, you're going all the way to the back. This is the type of situation where you want to be on the same page with your team so that everyone does everything together and not leaving someone out and getting yourself in a situation where you go all the way to the back at the very end.
Well, and that has been a topic of conversation throughout the year, not just teams working together, but teams having miscommunication and leaving someone out to dry. We have seen that in the past, so it would not be out of bounds to think that there still might be some concern. But communication is at a premium with Discord and Race Chat between these fellas. Lap 69 about to come to completion. The lights are off the pace car, so we're going to get a good 8 laps here of green flag racing is what's going to be scheduled here at Daytona. Playoff positions on the line as this is your second race of the round of 8. David Owens currently in the lead. He is third in points. Got to feel good about his point situation, but hey, having a win and a guaranteed ticket would be lovely. Also making that chase, Matt Novella, now being shown in 5th, would love to make his way up there. Other than that, you got to go all the way back to 12th to find a playoff driver. So Owens and Novella have to be happy. Novella especially considering the adventures of Joe Volpus, who's up back in 17th, who Novella needs to catch. Outside truck is your control truck, and away he goes. Owen starts in the beginning of the Geico restart zone, taking everyone by surprise. Owen's going to cut down in front of Eric Thornton. So now Owens, Thornton, Jared Kelly, that's your inside lane. Outside lane, Bobby Dodson trying to get some help from Steve Captain Crunch Lewis. Inside lane, though, Owens, Thornton, Kelly, and now the DDI driver of Matt Novella into the mix. Dave Kirkpatrick still finding his way up there. Steve Fugay, he's the one that pushed Lynott too hard. Can Fugay cause another incident, or will he be able to settle down that 94 Sunoco truck? Lap 70 being led by David Owens on the inside. Eric Thornton, who's been up front all day long. Thornton, he's been content to push, but you got to imagine he sees that there's only a few tacos remaining at the taco truck, and he needs to get in the front if he thinks he's going to get something spicy. Outside lane, Bobby Dodson being led, leading the outside lane. Lewis now finding himself in the pusher position instead, getting some help from Fugay. Inside lane with control, outside lane bringing it hard. But look how good Thornton and Owens hold that inside lane. Jared Kelly with help as well. Coming out of 4, it looks like Owens might lead as the outside lane just having trouble getting it together, buddy.
Yeah, they're bobbing and weaving a whole lot, and it looks like they're trying to form
all 3 wide. Look at Lynott.
Yeah. Trying to make a third lane here, and that's going to slow down massively that outside 2 lanes.
Oh, Louis about to get in trouble. Look at him. He's trying to block 2 people.
In this particular situation, you just kind of be patient, run your line, kind of like he just did right there, and pushed Bobby Dotson straight to the front.
Yep.
Don't pay attention to what's on your. Don't pay attention to what's on your left and your right. You know your line. You know your lane that you're in. You know you're safe where you're at.
Look at Fugay! Look at Steve! Look at Fugay! He's crazy!
Oh my gosh!
It happened! Oh, when Fugay dies! Oh, look at him! We need the medic! What Steve was? Oh my gosh! That dude had it buried to the floor. Oh my gosh! He took it 3 wide with 3 different people. He didn't care.
Let's see.
Oh, I'm going to win on lap 73. I don't care.
Let's go to Steve here.
Oh, I mean, he took it 3 wide with 2 different people, and then he pinched it in there like Joey Logano at Daytona opener, wondering why they didn't get out the way. That was exciting.
So I think.
Oh, you don't have to think. You know. Look at that.
there was a hole open. Case of Beer looked like he wanted to go to the outside with Dotson and Lewis.
Yes, he did.
Fugay's seen the inside open, so he has Lynott with him.
He saw the window was open. Yeah.
And I don't think he realized the Case Sabir was trying to make a third lane on the outside as he was trying to make a third lane in the middle. So they ended up 4 wide, and that's what pinched everything together.
Yeah. What's 2 plus 2?
And they would have had it saved and perfect if there wasn't just that little bit of contact that pushed Lewis up a little bit that got the left rear of Dotson.
Wow. And now looks like Steve Lewis coming into the pit. Hey, Joe, how spicy is the radio right now down there in pit road?
Oh yeah, things got very wild there. I think Steve Fugay really wanted to start making some moves. Steve Lewis and it looked like Quesabir as well were not really entertaining going 3 wide. And Steve just had enough of it, and then he took him 4 wide, and you saw the aftermath of that.
Yeah, that was some exciting stuff. I'll tell you what, though, this is what you said, buddy. You said it was going to start off slow, and then the closer we got to the end, the wilder it was going to get. And we went from, oh my, it's finally the 3-wide situation, to then we got the 4-way. And that's where it just went right off the rails. Steve Fugay, he's been involved in a couple of incidents, but that guy wants to win. He's used to winning in the past leagues, and now here he is here today, especially on a super speedway, when you've got the ability, you just need a little bit of luck to make your way through there. Speaking of luck, look up front. The guys continue. Thornton and Owen still on that lead row. Kelly, Quesabir, Novella, Panzarella, Steve Bryan, Alex Hillman, Dalton Geyer, Joe Amato 10th. And now Joe Volpus has managed to milk that number 13 Ford back up into 11th spot. He's got to be happy with his day. I'm a little worried about Steve Lewis, though. That guy, he's got to be thinking hard times as he led laps, then he fought his way back to the front, and now milking it around in 14th place. Tough day for the Captain Crunch number 88.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for him. He was strong truck all day, but it's not over yet.
It ain't over. And another guy, look, Dave Kirkpatrick, he took the pole, led laps, and he finds himself back in 15th, also trying to milk it around. Gulf Coast teammates David Brenner and Kyle Lynott, 17th and 18th, also trying to get a little bit of help. You can see Kirkpatrick having to bring it down one more time. A little bit more of the Sawzall, the duct tape, and the ball peen hammer, trying to make sure that there's not going to be any unnecessary rubbing. You can see that damage that he's got under that right front tire well. They're going to need to make sure that they're not looking at a cut tire a little bit later on. So I imagine he's just going to get a little bit of body work done on that number 27 Miller Genuine Draft truck. Up front, though, lights are off the pace car. We're getting ready to go green. Gonna see, Owens has had some amazing restarts, buddy. I think the restart allows him to pick his lane, and then he just controls it from there.
Yeah, he can. So I think the stuff that he's figured out through the race is the outside hasn't really been the place to be, right? We've seen the inside be super dominant all race. If he takes the inside here, he knows Thornton, he knows Kelly. He knows he can get the jump off of the front and just dive down to the inside, and that automatically gives them 3 trucks in line.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he's in the lead and you see Zach on the outside say, hey, congratulations, David, I think we're going to get fireworks.
Yeah.
That's an omen of bad things to come. No, that's not going to happen on the super speedway where you drop the hammer.
Nope. And you got, like I was talking about earlier, like Panzarella, here they are together. There's one truck separating them. They just always, they're like a magnet and find each other every single race, no matter where they start or how the race plays out. They're always around each other somehow, some way.
Well, when you're the top drivers in the league, it's inevitable, right?
Absolutely.
That's how it's going to go. It's kind of like me racing with my French friends over in the other league in the back. Here we go. David Owens, he's off. He is your race leader. He is right ahead of Thornton, but there's not enough space. I don't think he could cut down if he wanted to. There it is. Owens finally takes that opportunity. He's going to come down to the inside lane. Behind him, Eric Thornton starting to apply the pressure. Jared Kelly, he's the third truck on the inside lane. Outside lane, Jonathan Quesabir going to get help from Matt Novella and Zach Panzarella. The 16 of Stephen Bryan trying to close up that gap of that inside lane. 4 trucks on the inside lane now. Outside lane, though, becomes a DDI graveyard. Look at him now. It's Quesabir. Yeah. It's Zach Panzarella. It's Matt Novella. It's Dalton Geyer. It's Alex Hillman. It's the 33 of McGivern. All DDI trucks now making that outside lane work. We're coming down to the white flag. This is lap 76. David Owens with the lead through the Geico restart zone. He's going to cross the line in the lead. It's the last lap. There's a wreck. Joe Amato gets sideways.
Yeah, the one thing that's happening here is you got teammates on both lanes, and I don't think anyone wants to throw their teammate out to dry.
No, well, Thornton's a wild card. Eric Thornton, his teammates with David Owens on Monday. So Owens now going to bring it into 3. He's got Jared Kelly behind him, outside lane. Quesabir getting pushed from Novella. Zach Panzarella behind him, Dalton Geyer, then Hillman. Look at Novella try to wiggle, but nobody can move. There's no room. Owens trying to hold off the charge. He's getting the push by Thornton. Outside lane coming, and the win's going to go to David Owens. David Owens is going to be your winner, ladies and gentlemen. Woo!
Followed by Quesabir in second, and Thornton picking up third.
I'll tell you what, there was some spice in that taco.
There was some interesting dynamics there, I think, with as Kelly gives Owens a congratulatory bump there. There were some interesting dynamics there where you had one team on the inside, one team on the outside, and no one wanted to make a move. Like, they didn't want to accidentally throw their team under the bus and kind of leave them in the middle or anything. It definitely finished a lot cleaner than I was expecting it to, but I think a lot of that goes to the fact that it was teammates on one side and teammates on the other side.
Yeah, and nobody bailed. Nobody bailed on anybody. Everybody stayed in it till the end. You could see Novella try to take a look, but there was really nowhere to go. If you had tried to make it 3 wide, it seemed like both those lanes were almost in the middle. They weren't hugging the apron. They weren't hugging the top. And so if you were going to try to make something happen, you could have had another incident like we saw earlier in the race. And there's Owens celebrating. He has guaranteed his position in the round of 4. David Owens, the first guy to clinch a spot in that championship race. Owens got to be happy, especially after the foolishness last week, the controversy, the arguments, the meetings by league officials, all of the finger pointing and screaming. And yet here it is. He puts all that noise to the side, takes the W here at Daytona, punches his way into the Final 4. Great response to all of the controversy. You can have all of the talking and pointing you want off the track, but on the track is where you take care of it. Clean race here today. And there he is. He's doing the Polish victory lap. I can say that because Polish people are usually white. It's not racist. And David Owens taking the dub, waving at the fans. And look at the middle fingers. He's got to be happy to get that response out of the crowd.
You know, one thing that I do want to take away from this, I'm a little bit earlier on the takeaways, but considering all the fireworks and the drama and the stuff in the previous weeks leading up to this, there was a lot of respect between the teams. It could have been a disaster fest of a race, considering it's a super speedway. So props to those guys for being respectful to each other. And in the words of David Brenner, I had to steal his words because he always uses them. I just want everybody to love everybody.
Oh, my. He's lucky he didn't say, can't we all just get along? Because that's how you get dragged out of a truck and beaten. And this is the truck series. Well, great win. And I'll tell you what, can we pop up the final results once again, Joe? Can you bring that up for us? So again, David Owens with that win, got to be happy. Joining him up there on that podium is going to be Jonathan Sabir and Eric Thornton. Thornton won last week, third place this week, got to be happy. And here's where it gets interesting. Matt Novella needed to make up some points on Joe Volpis. Volpis ninth, Matt Novella fourth. So there's a few points going to get made up. Jared Kelly, third race of the year, going to finish in fifth. Zach Panzarella, he's going to get sixth. Stephen Bryan, great run right there for the Lazy Lizard Racing, number 16. Eighth place, Dalton Geyer. Ninth, Volpis. And 10th, Alex Hillman. So good day of racing here. A few incidents, but overall, as you said, buddy, nice and clean. And how about those playoff points? Do we have an updated playoff look at the playoffs after all of that? Let's see. Joe's been on the spin. There's Owens blowing up the engine. I'm glad I don't own that one. And there it is. Boom, boom, boom. David Owens going to pop to the top, guaranteeing his spot. Ignore the points. That just signifies that Owens is in the final four. Other drivers still battling. Panzarella and Geyer hold their place atop the board. Joe Volpis. But now that gap is down to 6 over Sabir, and then just 10 over Novella. So Volpis cannot fall asleep at Dover next week. He is going to need a strong race to hold on to that spot. And let's not forget, Geyer is only a few points ahead of Volpis. So a great run out of Sabir. Actually, out of any of the bottom drivers, if Sabir, Novella, Lanat, Benesh, any of those guys pull the win, and then Volpis only 3 behind Geyer, it could easily be Geyer on the outside looking in. So this thing far from over. Only David Owens can sit back and relax. The rest of these boys all know that their neck is on that chopping block, and it could be the French Revolution straight up at Dover next week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting going into next week for Dover, just because of that reason. The cutoff. The cutoff's really is tighter now than what it was when we came into Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't put anything. I would expect for some of these guys as close as right on the line to put a little bit extra time into Dover this week to go into next week with a little bit of comfort.
Yeah, there's no way that you can even take a breath. I mean, look at Benesh. Benesh has a win. AJ Benesh has won this year, so he knows how to get it done. And after missing all those last 2 races, he probably was practicing for that thing coming in anyway. So he might actually be ahead of the other guys as far as lap hours on the track, because they've been getting ready here with the last 2 weeks, Auto Club and Daytona, whereas Benesh knew he was going to miss those races, and he could have already been putting in time there, putting him ahead of the curve. Regardless of how you look at it, it is going to be exciting, and it's going to be something that you are going to watch. Hey, Joe, you got any thoughts about what we just experienced here?
Yeah, it was definitely a pretty crazy race. Definitely there at the end, it looked like everybody got pretty much gridlocked, like what we saw in real life on Sunday there at Talladega. Definitely just turned into a two-lane race there at the end to see who was going to end up winning it. Owens' line did a better job pushing there on the bottom and was able to get the victory and lock his way into the championship 4. And we're going to see, he can go back-to-back. Dover is a very good track for him. It'll be very interesting to see if David can go back-to-back. And if you want him, Mean Gene, I think I got David here for an interview.
There we go. David Owens, are you there, buddy?
Yes, sir. Got a copy.
There he is. I saw the donuts, my friend. I saw the Polish victory lap. Had to feel good, especially last week watching the 2 drivers jump ahead of you in points. How do you respond? You take the W. You're the only driver guaranteed in the championship 4. You got to be on top of the world.
Oh, absolutely. It's good to always get a win. It's even better to lock yourself into the final race of the season just to take some pressure off of the round.
Now, there were no guarantees here. There's so many large teams that if you got caught up in that shuffle, you could have easily just found yourself abandoned in the middle and other lanes just drive on by. You had to feel good with your teammates there surrounding you, right?
Oh, absolutely. This race just, I'm not sure what the deal with the track conditions or may have been just the weather conditions because there were some high winds definitely upsetting these trucks in the trial on the high side of these turns. So you had to have somebody you really trusted pushing you in that second lane. So as much as we could, we tried to stay on the bottom as much as we could.
Now, I got to ask you this. I said it was nice to have your teammates around you, but there at the end, you didn't have your teammates. You had Thornton and you had Jared Kelly. You don't have an alliance with those guys, but those boys, did they do you good the whole race? You feel like those were honorable gentlemen?
Oh, absolutely. I got to give a shout out to Eric and Jared for both being class acts right there. Especially Eric sticking with me there at the end, trying to get the jump and coordinate and push down, get down to the front of them on some of those restarts. So again, shout out to him and Jared for sticking with me through there with not having much of the actual Gulf Coast team right there behind us. So I was able to pull it out. Those DDI guys are fast, especially Case of Beer on these super speedways. So it's always good to race with them.
And speaking of restarts, that just seemed to be a place where you were excelling. The outside lane not always working for people. You were choosing to start on the outside multiple times, and then you got such a jump, you were able to drop down onto that bottom line. At the end, though, choosing the inside, were you still experimenting that at that part, or did you just feel confident with your truck inside or out?
Depending on who was behind me, I didn't mind the outside. Typically with the outside, you can get a good side draft, pull away from them, and just use that momentum to kind of stay out in front. So it was really just experimenting who was behind me and whatnot and who was on that inside line.
Well, I'll tell you what, nothing but good decisions here for the number 11 Ford driver as we see David Owens take that Nas truck all the way back into victory lane and on all the way back into a championship run. David, anybody you would like to give a shout out to here tonight?
Shout out to you guys up here in the booth, you and Buddy, Joe, just putting on a fantastic broadcast here. Shout out to just everybody that chooses to race in this league week in and week out. It's great racing. I know some of us have our differences, but at the end of the day, we all do this for fun. And there's no ill will toward anyone. So just got to keep that in mind. Shout out to Kyle, David Brenner, Eric Thornton, Jared Kelly, just for working with us all day. And Joe Volpus, feel bad for my teammate there not being able to get the top 5 like we had planned. So other than that, it's just everybody in this league is just fun to race around. The competition grows week in and week out, so you really got to be on your game.
Nothing undersaid there. David Owens, a man of few words, but always resonate throughout the league. David, great race today. Way to come back after that 9th place finish last week, and I cannot wait to see what you got in your pocket for the boys at Dover. Have a good night, sir. You earned it.
Yes, sir. You too, guys.
Well, there he is, the number 11 Nas Ford driver, and he's back in that Final Four. Remember, this was the year of David Owens before the mechanical difficulties, buddy. Remember how many races he won in a row? It was like 4 out of 6 races across multiple leagues. And then all of a sudden, his wheel started having issues. The dog bit through a power cord. Do you think he's got that momentum back? Do you see the Owens mojo coming back?
I think so. I was talking to Owens the other day, and he was able to track down his wheel problems that he was having, and it was kind of isolated to his powered USB hub of all things. I think that was causing some of his headaches, and I'm pretty sure that he has that all ironed out now. So from here going forward, all I got to say is look out, because I think Owens is on some special momentum that he has going here.
It's been next level.
Yeah.
I mean, what he's done, winning the 4 races in 6 attempts. That was pretty monumental.
He had a really killer season whenever it comes to the Sunday morning league too. He had quite a few wins over there. So all that stuff just builds that momentum further, and you take that momentum and you use it for other leagues and other days, and before you know it, you're just doing what Owens is doing right now and just kind of dominating across the board in a lot of different things.
Well, he's now found himself into the championship round. Still got to go through Dover next week, but if I'm David, I'm already putting some laps down on that championship track. Remember, this is all going to wrap up at Kentucky in just 2 more weeks. Owens runs good there, but you know what? A lot of people run good there, specifically Dalton Geyer and Joe Volpus and Zach Panzarella. And that is your top 4 right now. Matt Novella sneaking up. Jonathan Casabir sneaking up. So lots to still be determined next week when we hit Dover. Cannot wait to see what is going to happen. Join us next week on Thursday as we are going to continue to bring you all of this exciting racing here on the MRL Thursday Thriller Truck Series. We're going to wrap it up from Daytona. Hope you enjoyed the race. I know that we did. On behalf of myself, Mean Gene Money, my partner, Buddy Sully, Joe the producer, our sponsors, Chantilly Lace, DDI, KK Woodworks, all the gentlemen, the boys in the production truck, and our league admins, Steve Fugay, Zach Panzarella, Joe Volpus, David Owens, and John Beverly. It has been a pleasure to put on this production for you. Join us next week from Dover as we bring it to you live again. And as always, bottoms up and hammer down.